Have you ever watched someone in power humiliate a stranger, only to discover that the quiet person they looked down on would change everything? Imagine standing on a rainy airport runway as a furious CEO points her finger and shouts, "Touch my jet and you're fired." Everyone freezes. Security rushes in. One hardworking mechanic is dragged away in front of everyone. It looks like his career is over. But what nobody knows is that within the next few hours, one phone call from the Pentagon will turn that runway into the most unforgettable place anyone has ever seen. And the man everyone treated like he was nothing will remind them that kindness is more powerful than pride. Before we begin, welcome to Echoes of Stories. If you enjoy emotional stories that restore your faith in humanity, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Your support helps us bring more inspiring stories just like this one. The rain had just stopped when Ethan Carter stepped onto the private airfield. His blue coveralls were stained with grease, and his old toolbox had seen better days. He had worked on aircraft for nearly 20 years, and although he wasn't famous, pilots trusted him because he never rushed a repair. Ethan wasn't there looking for attention. He had been called because another technician noticed something unusual inside the engine of a luxury corporate jet. The aircraft belonged to one of the country's biggest technology companies, and its CEO, Victoria Hayes, was preparing to leave for an important meeting in Washington. Victoria was known for getting results. She expected perfection from everyone around her. But she had also earned a reputation for losing her temper whenever things didn't go her way. As Ethan carefully removed an engine panel, he noticed tiny metal shavings near one of the fuel lines. His face became serious. "If this plane takes off," he quietly said, "there could be a catastrophic engine failure." The younger mechanics looked worried. "We should ground the aircraft immediately." Word quickly reached Victoria. She stormed across the runway wearing a sharp navy suit, her heels clicking loudly against the wet pavement. "What is going on?" she demanded. One manager nervously explained that Ethan wanted to delay the flight for another inspection. Victoria glared at Ethan. "Do you know how much this delay will cost me?" Ethan stayed calm. "I understand, ma'am. But safety has to come first." She stepped closer, anger filling her voice. "Touch my jet again and you're fired." The entire crew went silent. Ethan slowly lowered his wrench. "I'm only trying to keep everyone safe." "I don't care," she snapped. "Security, remove him from my aircraft." A security officer gently took Ethan by the arm. Unlike everyone else, Ethan didn't argue. He simply picked up his toolbox and walked away. Before leaving, he looked at one young mechanic and quietly said, "Please don't let anyone fly until that engine is inspected." The young mechanic nodded, unsure what to do. Only minutes later, another engineer performed a quick inspection to satisfy the CEO. He reported that everything appeared normal. Victoria smiled confidently. "I knew it." The passengers boarded. The pilots prepared for departure. Then, just as the engines were about to start, 3 black government SUVs raced onto the runway. Everyone stopped. Several officials stepped out wearing military uniforms. The lead officer walked directly toward the aircraft. "Who ordered this jet cleared for takeoff?" Silence filled the air. Victoria stepped forward. "I did." "Is there a problem?" "There certainly is." He held up a document. "This aircraft contains communication equipment scheduled for a classified Pentagon demonstration. Every maintenance inspection must meet federal safety requirements." Victoria's confidence disappeared. The officer continued. "We received an anonymous report that an experienced mechanic found signs of possible engine failure." The young mechanic slowly raised his hand. It was Ethan. "Where is he?" Nobody answered immediately. The security officer quietly admitted, he was removed from the property. The officer looked shocked. You fired the one person who reported a safety concern? Victoria suddenly realized what she had done. Her pride had nearly placed dozens of lives in danger. The Pentagon team immediately ordered another complete inspection. This time they dismantled more of the engine. Within an hour, the hidden damage became obvious. A cracked fuel component had begun wearing against a rotating section deep inside the engine. One investigator shook his head. If this aircraft had reached cruising altitude, the engine could have failed without warning. The runway became completely silent. Victoria could barely speak. Find Ethan. 2 hours later they found him sitting quietly outside a neighborhood diner, drinking coffee while helping an elderly waitress carry heavy boxes into the kitchen. Even after everything that had happened, he had stopped to help someone else. When the government vehicles arrived, Ethan looked surprised. The Pentagon officer walked over and extended his hand. Mr. Carter, because you followed proper safety procedures and refused to compromise your professional judgment, you likely saved every person on that aircraft. Ethan smiled modestly. I was just doing my job. Victoria slowly stepped forward. For the first time all day, she had no speech prepared. She simply said, I'm sorry. Ethan looked at her. Everyone makes mistakes. She lowered her eyes. No. I judged you because of your clothes, your toolbox, and your job title. I forgot that character matters more than appearances. Ethan smiled gently. My father always told me that kindness costs nothing, but pride can cost everything. Those words stayed with everyone standing there. A week later, Victoria invited every employee to a company meeting. Instead of talking about profits, she talked about respect. She announced that every worker, from janitors to senior executives, would always have the right to raise safety concerns without fear of punishment. She also created a scholarship for young aviation mechanics in Ethan's name. When reporters asked Ethan how he felt about becoming a national hero, he laughed. I'm not a hero. I just listened when the airplane was trying to tell me something. Months later, one of the young mechanics visited Ethan. I've never forgotten what happened that day, he said. You taught me that speaking the truth is more important than keeping people happy. Ethan smiled. And never forget something else. What's that? The strongest people aren't the loudest. They're the ones who stay kind even after they've been treated unfairly. The young mechanic carried those words throughout his career. Years later, he became one of the nation's most respected aviation engineers, teaching every new employee the same lesson Ethan had taught him. Sometimes the world celebrates people with money, power, or impressive titles. But real greatness often belongs to ordinary people who quietly choose honesty, compassion, and courage when nobody is watching. One act of kindness can change a heart. One humble decision can save countless lives. And one person who refuses to stop caring can inspire generations. So the next time you meet someone whose clothes are dirty or whose job seems ordinary, remember Ethan. You never know whose wisdom, integrity, or kindness might change your life. Treat everyone with respect, because kindness has a way of coming back when the world needs it most. Until next time, keep believing in the good, keep spreading kindness, and remember that even the smallest act of compassion can create echoes that last forever.